Hour 2 Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Ray Ferraro will join us here in just a moment. And Doogie and I were talking about this. I'm curious how you guys would answer this, because we know 7 of the 8 series are set for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Montreal, if they get to overtime tonight, they're in. Montreal will play Washington. If they don't, then the door opens for Columbus. But we know it'll be either Montreal or Columbus playing Washington. Right. Now, from my standpoint, and obviously we're biased here, but I would think hockey fans, throughout the league, but let's, take it into consideration. We're talking about us and what we do on this show and all that. I would rank the 3 series that I am most looking forward to watching: Battle of Ontario, Battle of Florida, Dallas, Colorado. Like, is that a consensus? Those are the 3.
Not with me.
No?
I don't know why, fellas.
Okay.
It is partly because of intrigue and partly because I'm buying into Uncle Gerry's system. I want to watch the Oilers and Kings go at it for the 4th straight year.
Really?
There is some intrigue for me, and I will be having coffee late at night and watching that. I don't know why. I'm fascinated by that.
All right,
series.
if you're putting them
I
in,
think that's
go
a
ahead,
good
Noodles.
call.
Go ahead.
I think that's a fair call, because I think there's some bad blood there.
But let me ask you, Noodles, would you put Edmonton, L.A. over Dallas, Colorado?
No, because I think Dallas and Colorado legitimately, are Stanley Cup, that could be a Stanley Cup final.
Yes.
Legitimately, that's
but
why
Mikko
I have those
Rantanen changing teams does not outdo McJesus and Draisaitl trying to take down the Oilers, because I think they're gonna have their hands full this time.
Well, they are going to have their hands full. LA's a hell of a team, but I look at it, and the first round of hockey is great hockey, but I look at it when you look at Cup contenders, teams that are are really, really darn good. That series I circle. Battle of Ontario, I'm learning it. I'm going to be right in the middle of it. But I think those 3 that Hayes laid out make great sense, because that's Cup contenders out west. That those literally, both those teams, one of them is going home and they could win a Stanley Cup. That's how good they are.
And they're divisional rivals.
Yeah.
They've both been so competitive for so long. You got big personalities on both sides. I think. Listen, I'll wear this. I'll get out in front of this Carolina jersey. Step aside. We'll box score that. And Vegas, Minnesota. That'll be a box score.
Anything with jersey involved, you take a dump on it. Those people hate
I have the courage to say what the whole country's thinking, including you two. Those 2, Vegas, Minnesota, Carolina jersey, play those at noon during the week so we can track them. And then the other ones I find very intriguing, including Winnipeg, St. Louis, which I think if you're Winnipeg, you're like, really?
That is no gift for winning at all.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, to get the top spot and you get that gift of the St. Louis Blues, who are on the ultimate heater, that sucks.
Yes.
Guys, I had to do a little thing on this afternoon on the goalies, okay? I think my vote, and we're going to talk about this, but my vote for the Hart and the Vezina is Hellebuck. Like, he's been that good. Mm-hmm. Bennington's won a Stanley Cup. He won a Stanley Cup in Game 7 on the road. He won the Four Nations face-off and was an impact player. Like, that's not a cakewalk when you're going, okay, Hellebuck versus Bennington. One guy's been there and done that. The other guy is trying to do that, but has had some struggles in the playoffs recently. I still gave the edge to Hellebuck because I'm like, he's going to arguably win the Hart this year, but it's not this huge gap. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I agree with you, and it will be like shades of Dwayne Casey winning Coach of the Year after getting fired if Hellebuck wins the Hart and then they lose in the first round.
Right. Yeah.
Like, even if it's you lost 4 times, 1-0, and Hellebuck didn't give up anything, but they still found a way to lose. If you have this historical season, which is what he's had, he's played that well, and his numbers are off the charts, and they've been the best team in the President's Trophy, and you lose in the first round, it'll be a shocking development. Like, for the average fan that will just look at it and say, how is this possible? You're the number 1 seed in the league. Yeah. You won the President's Trophy. You've got to beat St. Louis, but it is not going to be easy.
Dude, there's a little something in every series where you can look at a team and say, Man, if they could do that, they could take them down.
Yeah.
Like they're that's what's intriguing
100%.
and so fascinating about the first round. You just heard that Psycho Robs talk about the first round.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff going on, man.
Gary Roberts, there was a clip circulating earlier, this montage of the Battle of Ontario, and there's a lot of guys smiling and OT, and there's Rob's he's got this snarled face on.
Hey, I saw that guy in Boston one night. Half his ear was hanging off. Okay, I was looking on the bench, and I just wanted to say to him, Roy, like, you got to get off the ice and go and see the doctor. And he just started grabbing people from the Bruins. I'm like, this guy's ear. I saw his ear, and I was grossed out. I'm like, half his ear is hanging off of his head.
Yeah. Evander Holyfield in Boston.
Yeah. What a guy to play with, though, man. Did I
so
love
intense.
going in the corners with that guy.
Yeah, second guy in, always.
That's it.
Exactly.
Here's a guy I'm sure loved being the second guy in and picking up a loose puck and doing something with it. Here's our main man, Ray Ferraro. Were you leading the charge on a forecheck, or were you the second man in usually?
Lead the charge. Come on. that would terrify a defenseman. Oh, here comes a 5'8" guy chopping it up coming in there.
Yeah.
Reverse puck retrievals.
I'll tell you, if one of those guys bobbled it, though, I could go get it. But taking it, getting in there first, like those guys, like, you're talking about Roberts, but like those guys that do that are like, they're gold to play with. Like they don't
awesome,
have to go very fast. They don't. They just they clear room, and you're like, oh, I got the puck. This is awesome, and now I can get the hell out of there. They were the best.
You get a guy with a big frame. Like, I played with a guy in Carolina. His name was Bates Battaglia. If he was on his game, that guy could get in on the forecheck and dig in puck, and he had good hands too, so he could make a little chip play. It just makes life so easy where they crush the defenseman and dig out pucks, and everything starts from there. Pleasure to play with a big body like that.
Noodles and I played with Pat Flatley with the Islanders. And my God, he looked like a broken down truck half the time. Like, he had these big knee braces and his shoulder was screwed up.
Forrest Gump.
Oh, man. And one of the first games I played with him, the puck was in the corner, and I went to help. And we go back to the bench, and he's like, when I'm in the corner, get away from me. Just get open. Like, he didn't even want help. And he'd be, slashing away, and he'd always get the, he'd always get the puck. I'm like, it was one of the best guys I ever played with. It was amazing.
Listen,
his face, everything. It was a nightmare.
He was a running comedy show watching those guys, man, guys like that.
Well, we were thinking about what the vibe is going to be like for this Habs game tonight, where the Habs are playing for something and the intensity that they should show up with. Yet Carolina would do anything for a handshake and just let us leave and go home, right? Like, this game is completely meaningless for them tonight. And yet, if you're Columbus, you're like, can you guys show up and try? Can the goalie make sure he's got pads on tonight? It's going to be a kind of an eerie experience, watching this Habs game tonight.
Yeah, it is, except the guys that are in the game, the ones that are beyond the 13th forward, beyond the 6th or 7th defenseman, they get a chance to play. This game for Carolina, this game means so much to them. Sometimes you get a better game than the guys that are just coasting into the playoffs that are I don't want to get hurt here. I'm just thinking about Saturday. Carolina, whoever's going to be in goal tonight, the team in front of them could be terrible for 40 minutes. That guy stands on his head, and you're 1-1 going into the third period.
Ooh.
They're not taking. This is not a beer league team that's going in. Look what happened in Calgary last night. Vegas has got Stone, Pietrangelo, Hannafin, Eichel. They're not playing, and Calgary's got to win to have a chance. It was 3-1 in the first period. And, Vegas had their second team in. Now, Calgary ended up coming back and winning, but there's only one team with pressure tonight. And if pressure goes bad, it goes really bad. And
Ray,
you could end up on your back foot in a hurry. Sorry, Noodles. You could end up on your back foot in a hurry.
I was just going to say, what do you make of this Montreal team? From the start of the season, even from the middle of the season, and where they are now, did you see this coming? Did you think the progression was there, just a little bit faster? What do you make of this team?
I did a game about 6 weeks ago. They were out west. They were in Vancouver, and they looked like a carefree team, like with not much pressure. They were playing with house money. That top line, in particular, Caulfield and Suzuki, but Slafkovsky was really good that night too. I was like, that's a legit line. And then the rest, they just worked. Like they were workers, and they were fast. And I was quite impressed with Lane Hudson. First time I'd seen him live, and I'm like, man, he doesn't really put himself in position to get hit too often. Like he's little. I don't know if you guys have seen him live. Like he's little, and I was impressed with them. Like they're fast and they're talented. There were points in the game where you're like, oh my gosh, they are so young, like so inexperienced, and somewhere that'll bite them this year. But they easily could go play a great game tonight. Like I'm surprised. I didn't of the. That group, Ottawa, we keep talking about Ottawa, Detroit, Buffalo, Montreal, who was ready to take the next step. I didn't think Montreal would be one of those teams. I thought they were a little bit behind.
Ray, you just mentioned Ottawa. They're playing the Leafs in the playoffs. It's the Battle of Ontario. Everyone around here, including your guy Hayes, is pretty pumped up about it. No Boston, no Floridas. We get something different. We've been waiting for this. How do you kind of look at that series?
I think it's really important for Toronto not to try and prove how tough they are and how physical the series is going to be and say, oh, yeah, we can play that series. Just play your game. Just play the game that you know how to play, that I think at times this year has showed really well. At a lot of times this year has showed really well. More of a playoff-style game. They should be a deeper team offensively. We know Travis's teams, they play well defensively. Like they play hard. I think they've got the best goalie in the series. And so I don't think it's like an easy walk in the park thing, but if the series is in a lot of scrums and in the mud and the Battle of Ontario and all that, I think that favors Ottawa. I think if Toronto just plays, they'll be in good shape.
So how do you tackle the experience versus inexperience conversation, yet the Leafs' experience is purely games played but not playoff success? And what I mean by that is Tkachuk's never played in the playoffs, Cousins never played, Stützle's never played, Batherson's never played, Shabbat's never played, Sanderson's never played in the playoffs, where Matthews and Marner and Nylander, they played a ton of games. But is it worth anything if they haven't won in the past? Like, does experience even matter when you're calculating how you think this could play out?
I think it matters by this, and I think this is the biggest change from regular season to playoff. When this is the example I'll use. When there's a 50-50 puck in the playoffs, it means everything. Like that, the intensity to each little battle, you have to learn. And because you get surprised by how hard each square foot of the ice seems to be now. Because in the regular season, there's still 43 games left. And if you lose this puck, you don't want to lose too many of them, right? You're trying hard, but the intensity is never the same. Like, you think of this. These guys have killed themselves for 8 months. It's going to be over for 8 teams in 10 days. So the intensity of this, I think, can be learned. If the Leafs haven't learned it by now, then what are we even talking about?
Right.
Like, if they haven't learned by now, then, oh my gosh, like, holy pound your head on the wall. I think they have. Like, I think this team just seems a little different. And if you think of last year, did they have to be that much different to beat Boston? They need 1 goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the goaltending holds, like, I think it's more than adequate. If the D plays in the style that they've been built, it's above average. You don't have to worry, like, the top-end guys are going to have to score. It's the same as any team. Depth is great. It's a nice storyline, But if your big boys don't score, you're screwed.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, there has been turnover on both sides, but with the Leafs, now you got Ekman Larsson, we presume will be healthy. Tanev here, and Stolarz is red hot. Like, their goaltending is in a better position. This time last year, Ilya Samsonov was going to be their game one starter, and Timothy Liljegren was playing. And, you know, there has been turnover and I think improvements in important areas, but you just said it, Ray. Like, the big boys, they are the stalwarts. They've been here forever. And when you just look at it on paper, and it doesn't have to mean anything come playoff time, on paper, the expectation should be that the Leafs superstars are capable of winning those battles and being the best players in the series.
O said right at the start, like, in every series, there's something you could say, if this goes well, that team could win. If this goes well, I could see that happening. I think we can go through this series in 100 different ways and divide it up like you can in almost every series. And at the end of it, the goalie and the best players are probably going to decide most series.
Yeah.
And I think Ullmark is really good. I thought, man, he changes the entire outlook of Ottawa. He really does, right from the moment that they traded for him. But all their big boy players are all brand new to this. And I do believe there is a difference. I really do.
Well, there was a Brady Tkachuk conversation earlier in the year about his intensity and his approach, and Travis Green came out immediately and said, I'm never telling this guy to stop playing the way that he's playing. But I'm curious about what you expect to see out of him in the playoffs because of his style, because of his intensity. We saw it at the Four Nations. I mean, he's been injured for a while, so you hope that he's healthy if you're a Sens fan or if you're the Ottawa Senators for that matter. But is it possible he's going to have to reel it in? Like, if you're the Leafs, how are you approaching Brady Tkachuk?
Every time there's a whistle, have somebody get near him and just rub a glove in his face. See if you can piss him off. See if you can get him to take an extra penalty. Like, any time you can pull him out of the game, I think if you're Toronto, you've done a good thing. And if you're, I guess the one thing you might say to him is, just when that whistle goes, like, get your head down and get the hell out of there. We need you on the ice way more than anything else that can be accomplished when the whistle stops. Mm. But if I'm Toronto, man, I'm trying to be a rock in his shoe all the time. See if I can get him aggravated and agitated and see if he'll take another penalty. The two brothers, like, they can run hot, but Brady is by far closer to Keith than Matthew is. Like, Walt would lose it, and it was impossible to rein him in. And I think Brady's got that. He goes red, and he sees that. And I would, if possible, try to get him as close to that as I can if I'm Toronto. Because maybe you pull him out of being effective for a couple of double minors in the series. Like, that can be the difference, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be much.
Right.
No, for sure. With Ray Ferraro. So, Ray, if we offered you could only watch one of these series, either Florida, Tampa, or Colorado, Dallas. You can only watch one. You can't even check in on the other one. Which one would you choose?
Colorado.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think there's going to be points in that series. It's just like a racetrack. Like, I don't know what I expected from Tampa this year, but I didn't think that they were going to score 300 goals. Like, I don't know why. I just didn't see it. And they're going to score. They're going to make Florida play a style of game that Florida doesn't really want to play as much. I don't think Florida is as good as they were last year. Clearly, they got health and suspension issues that they've been dealing with, and maybe they'll be a different team. But, like, I think that series is going to be super interesting. But the Dallas one, they're just going to be like race cars. Like, I'm so entertained by the thought of that. I am also crazy amazed that Colorado did what they did with their team this year. Like, I can't remember a team being totally stripped down and rebuilt in the midst of a season. Like
Impressive.
Yeah.
Crazy.
both goalies, 3 of the 4 centermen, plus the Rantanen trade and fiasco. Like I looked at a game sheet I had from the beginning of the year. It was almost like I was looking at a game sheet from 2 years ago. Like it's not even close to the same. Like the goalies were Georgiev and Ananen. Like they had 4 guys from the American League up front, and I'm like, who? Ivan was playing. Like I'm like, who are these guys?
Ivan.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Parents really went to work on that one, didn't
Yeah, let's just call him Ivan. All right, done. Moving
they?
on.
Finished.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah, Ray, if you had to choose today, I mean, we're going to talk about it here soon, either today or the next couple of days. Who's your Hart Trophy winner?
The Hart?
Yeah.
You say sorry? Yeah. I think I would vote for Draisaitl. The only 50-goal guy in the league. Still the hardest thing in sport or in the sport to do that a skater has. I think I would vote for him. I think I would have Hellebuck second. I know they got their own trophy, but that's not their fault that they do. And then I would have Kucherov and McKinnon and Jack Eichel. I think would be my 5.
Yeah.
Eichel's had an amazing year.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Now he's been, I guess, a bit banged up and, didn't play much, I guess, down the stretch, but he's been so good. And Vegas is a team, like, it's kind of strange. Like, they're quietly just plodding along. They won the division. We know they're going to play Minnesota in the first round. They'll be a huge favorite in that series. And, they weren't as active at the trade deadline. Like, it's kind of been an uncharacteristic year for Vegas, yet there's no reason to believe they can't or won't compete for another Stanley Cup.
I think I'm going to pick them to come out of the West.
Really?
And one of the reasons is, like, they're deep, right? Like, they get scoring from a lot of people. When Marchessault left, that opened up room for Dorofeev. And if you haven't seen that kid shoot, like, this is a big league shot. He's got over 30 goals, right? Stone has been healthy. I mentioned Eichel. Aiden Hill's his first 30-win season. They're enormous. I've done a few of their games. They're like a football team when they come on the ice. There were no small players. And that, I think if you're trying to win 16 games in 2 months, which they are, somewhere along the way you got to take the punishment. You got to be able to handle it. And physically they're bigger than everybody else. I think they're really, really good.
Do you have a Canadian team at the top of your list? Like best chance to win a Stanley Cup and one of the Canadian teams that are going to the playoffs?
I'm not a panderer to the market, but I think this is Toronto's best chance.
Yeah.
I really do. There just seems like there's something different about so much of them, from the way Berube coaches the team, like his style and his message, all this scar tissue that they should have built up. They had, they had a more than adequate year for slog through something that really doesn't matter particularly for them, because if they had 120 points or 100 points, did anybody care? It's like, what are they going to do now? Like, Matthews had, by his standard, a subpar year.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at them and I'm like, they're not going to be in that first-round slugfest, right, the Florida series. If they get by Ottawa, they're going to play somebody, which I think they will. They're going to play somebody that's already had to, box 15 rounds. And that's a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the East isn't as strong, I don't think. I would pick, Toronto would be my Canadian pick for sure. And I can't say that I've said that very much over the last decade.
No, and listen, they're 12-2-1 coming in. Stolarz is red hot. They're relatively healthy. We believe McCabe and Ekman-Larsson will be prepared to play in Game 1. And they got home ice. Everything, this is it for them, right? Like, I feel like there's deja vu. We've said this 15 times in the last 10 years. But this is the one, like, if you can't show up and win this series, outside of Ullmark standing on his head 4 times, which can happen, but if it's not just Ullmark making 50 saves every night. If you can't win in the situation you're in now, I don't know how anyone could ever get, 2 weeks from now and say next year is the year they'll do it. Like, this is it. Yeah, like, this has got to be it. You have to win this series and then take advantage of the road that's ahead of you.
You can keep moving forward next year with the team that looks a lot different. But as far as it looking like it is right now, this is it. This is it.
Yes. Like, hey, how about this, though? So, like, you mentioned about the goalie. So if Montreal gets a point, it's Montreal and Vancouver, or Montreal and Washington, right?
Yeah.
The last time they played, I went back and looked because I remember, I think that was the Halak Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to Washington for Game 7. Washington outshoots them 41-22 and loses. And that's playoff scariness.
Yes, it is.
Like, you get, if you've got Ottawa scrambling around early because they're young, put your foot on there. Like, squish them. Don't let them get into the series, because then you get into the point that Jaro Halak has the game of his life. Ovi was, a young man then. It's 15 years ago. He had 5 goals in 7 games, and they're out.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for coming.
That's it. And that's what, like, if Washington plays Montreal this time, it'll be a similar situation. Yep. Don't let Montembeault get to a Game 7 where maybe he stands on his head and burns you. Montreal
or Washington came so far this year. They look like so different than they have. Last year they squeaked in with like a minus 40 goals or whatever. And now they've kind of stumbled and kind of threw up on their own shoes here coming down the stretch. And they're, they've got some uncertainty health-wise with Thompson and with Protas. And first time, expectations are different. Last year was just a nice story. Now they're supposed to win, and
big time.
That'll be an interesting series too.
Yeah, it sure will be. Well, we got to get through 2 more nights of regular season hockey, and then it's go time on the weekend. So it's going to be fun, and I'm sure you'll be traveling a lot and calling a bunch of games. So good luck with it, and we'll do it again real soon. Thank you for this as always.
Yeah, we'll check in. And by the way, have you ever been more exhausted watching a sporting event than you were Sunday afternoon?
Oh, mentally draining from the first hole on. Usually I'm like, okay, I'll go hit some balls. I'll do something. I'll catch these guys in the back 9. As soon as that guy doubled the first hole, I said, I got to watch every shot.
Yeah.
It sucked me in, man.
Yeah, it did.
There was an amazing quote. Patrick Harrington said, Rory won that tournament 3 times. He goes, of course, he lost it twice.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I was like, gassed when that last putt went in. I'm like, it felt like I actually did something. I just sat down on the couch for 5 hours.
I know. It was incredible. And you're right, about like the marketing element. McIlroy's a genius, because you look at the ratings, they were consistent all day.
Yeah, because of what he did on the first.
You're like, I'm not leaving. I'm not going to watch something else. I got to see what this guy's
after
going
the
to do.
First, you're like, man, if this guy doubles the second, this is a smoke show, and everyone's back into it.
Yeah, I know.
But it was crazy. It was awesome stuff. Even little Jimmy lost his composure, Ray, and he cashed his media card. He yelled out, "Rory, way to go! That was awesome!"
Little Jimmy.
With his media badge down there. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cheering on McIlroy. All right, Paul.
All righty, boys. Have a good one. We'll talk in the next little bit, and have a great playoff run, eh?
Yep, you too, pal. We'll see you down the road. There he is, Ray Ferraro of ESPN, of course, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4 gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com.
What are you guys doing with your roster tomorrow night? Do you just sit everybody out?
They have to play, though, Noodles. That's the thing. I was talking to Johnny about this, that because, like, the PA and the NHL, you have to have the 18 skaters. You can't sit guys if they're healthy and play, 12, like 9 forwards and 4 defensemen.
Well, it's all cap-related, right?
And it's cap-related, so they're all going to play. And I think what it is Pontus Holmberg's playing 30 minutes tomorrow night. And Steven Lorentz. Yeah, exactly.
You guys want more ice time? You are going to set records on what you're going to do.
I get it. So, you're right. Like, that's the last thing you need. There's nothing, them playing in a game that's
any good player is a fourth liner, and they're getting benched. Like, you're going to get 2 shifts a period. I might give you a sniff on the power play.
Right. So going through my rosters in the games that have been playing either against Ottawa and the other games I've been looking at, there's all these, I watched that Calgary-Vegas game last night. Vegas sat out a bunch but this is cap-related. Like, I don't know if the Leafs have any flexibility, so they actually have to dress some of these guys,
I
right?
think so, Noodles. Yeah, I think they've got to, I think Matthews and that, I think they're going to dress tomorrow night, I think.
I felt for that Calgary team last night.
What a grind.
I felt bad for them. But
this is like big league sports, and I say it a lot. It's a do-it-or-don't league, and I literally feel bad for nobody. Like, there's some heartbreaking. But as far as performance, I could care less. You either do it or it's a do-it-or-don't league. But the way that team rallied and the way their fans rallied around, they showed some balls. And I love the coach
big
there.
Time.
And they showed some balls. And I love that about them. And this is another loser comment, but those guys should be proud of how they played. Because they kind of had no business. Their goalie, everybody was awesome. They got something going in Cowtown.
And you're right. This is the weird part. So they're off to L.A. They play in L.A. tomorrow. They could end up with 96 points and miss the playoffs.
That's scary.
That's a pretty
Jerry's
good
getting chirped about that online.
Yeah.
People don't like that, but that's...
Because over here, 90 gets you in, right? The Habs get 1 point. That's 90 gets you in.
But we were saying it yesterday. If you couldn't get in the East this year...
mail it in, dude. But you're right. Calgary, and the thing that kind of is a bit of a bummer, that means they're going to pick 16th in the draft.
Yeah.
And it's and same thing with Vancouver. Vancouver's going to pick 15th. You miss the playoffs and you pick 15th is such a terrible spot to be in.
It is what it is. I think, at the start of the year, we all thought that Calgary was going to take a step back.
Yep.
And in the end, they don't make it. But, hats off. This Minnesota team, they scored with 20 seconds left to get them into the playoffs.
Just got in to get into overtime. Yeah, to get that point to secure it. Because you're right, Calgary could end up tied in points with St. Louis. They just don't have the tie break. They both could have 96, and St. Louis has more regulation wins. Which, again, is just it stings. They're going to miss by one regulation win if they beat LA and Reg tomorrow night. Tied points and one regulation win behind them, and Calgary's not in, and St. Louis is. It is a bummer because they've been a great, great story. And even last night, persevering and finding a way to win. Now I guess it's Montreal. That's it, right? We know Vancouver's not in and Calgary's not in. Will Montreal get in to make it 5 Canadian teams? We'll find out tonight. Dregs coming up, and we got a little mini Gerry playoff edition, right? It went so well last week. I think we might carry it over this week. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, just a reminder, TSN 1050 is giving away tickets to every Leafs playoff home game, and all you have to do is listen to us on the iHeart Radio app for your chance to win them. To enter, download the iHeart Radio app, create an account, and listen to TSN 1050 for at least 15 minutes straight. You can enter twice per day, so listen to First Up between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. and OverDrive between 4 and 7 p.m. The more times you listen, the better your chances of winning. This Friday, First Up will be calling one devoted Leaf fan with a pair of Leaf tickets for Game 1. Full details at tsn1050.ca. Okay, we're going to get to some mini Jerry's. There was some actually crazy food stuff we saw last night during that play-in game in Golden State. Did you see the guy eating a plate of spaghetti behind the bench in the front row last night?
How did he get it there, though? That's what I like. Is it delivered?
Yes.
You mean a player or a fan?
No, a fan, but a plate of spaghetti at a sporting event is absurd to me. The fact that that's on the menu.
That's not something. What it is, you guys understand how the Scotiabank Arena, how down low there's boxes tucked in behind. That's where he got that.
I see. You think that was at a buffet somewhere and he brought it to his seat?
He got a buffet. I had some really cool tickets when I had to witness Paul McCartney at the Super Bowl, and every quarter.
That's just a disturbing comment. Don't talk smack about Sir Paul McCartney.
Somebody sent me the YouTube vid of him performing, and he said, "What a set!" I wanted to I blocked the guy. The YouTube video of McCartney at the Super Bowl. What a set, he said. But anyway, there's tucked in behind, there's all these food booths, and it kept changing, and you could just go stuff your face and bring whatever you want back to the seat.
Yeah, that is pretty elite way of going about your business. I will say that. But even that, it's just such a dangerous play to be eating spaghetti in public.
Yeah, if I'm on a date, if I'm with a buddy, I'll bring like a finger food out there, but I'm not bringing a bowl of pasta or a plate of pasta. No.
Like that guy's twisting like Tony Soprano, sitting there watching in the front row. Everywhere.
Hayes, can you imagine you and I? Remember we were courtside when you did the blue steel and all of that?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you're sitting there mashing?
Did you guys feed when you were sitting there?
Not courtside. No way, man. We were all business. Right, Noodles?
Yeah.
We were like a boy band.
What if the option presented itself for somebody stopped by and said, you guys want to feed? Do you guys want like saucy wings?
No.
Interested?
No. Never courtside, man. Never.
No,
and ideally not.
So you morph into cool guy when you're courtside.
Yes, you got to consider the image when you're courtside, man. You can't have stains all over your jacket or on your face or whatever.
Dude, you're looking at that camera that day. That's the horniest stare anyone's
What am I supposed to do in a situation?
Dude, I don't know.
I was dialed in on the game, and
I know,
and in the
but you were like, business right now, and take a look.
Well, it was a slow motion camera shot too. That's what it was. It was a slow motion. There was a nod towards the camera and acknowledgement.
His hair was solid. He had a nice jacket on. It was all grooving for him.
No food, though. I'll take a beer. I'll enjoy a beer, courtside or a vodka or something like that. But no food. You get it because that's where you get the George Costanza. That's where you get, somebody takes a pic and it's an unflattering picture. No way.
You've got to be on top of that. And, I resent the idea that I nodded at the camera. I didn't. But someone sent me that clip recently, and I had forgotten that Matt Devlin, remember, was like, where's O-Dog? Is he up in the 300s with Al's brother? And it was such a great call when they were spanning the crowd.
Such a great call, thanks.
A great set with McCartney and a great call with Devlin back in the day.
It was classic.
But, we'll play the Jim Palmer, because there was Jim Palmer, the all-time great Orioles Hall of Famer. He's in the booth, and he said something last night that I was disturbed by what he had to say about what he has not experienced in his life. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. But I've got some mini Jerrys here on the fly because there's so much going on here. Mini Jerry just works. It's quick. It's rapid fire.
I love it.
All right. Let's start here with the theme of the day has been the Battle of Ontario. Mini Jerry's that Leafs sends goes 7 games.
You know what? I don't even know where to go with this. My head or my heart? My heart says it should be wrapped up somewhat quickly, but other parts of me are saying this is what the Leafs do. This is going to go 7. I'm going to say 60% it goes long. 60%.
Okay.
I've thought I'm going to go a bit lower. I've 6 has always been stuck in my head here since 24 hours ago.
But let me clarify. The Jerry's is for 7, right?
Just to go to 7, not who wins it or who loses it, that the series will go to 7 games.
Man.
Yeah, I'm going to go 48%. I'm just below 50. I say it's 48%. It goes 7.
Okay.
I'm below 50.
I'm going to be higher than both of you. Because I just
you have 100% chance.
No, it's not 100%. It's not 100%. But I don't believe that. I don't think the Leafs are wired the way that you're suggesting they should be. That they're just going to come in here and be the big bad bullies. And I don't think Ottawa is wired that way either to understand. Like we're just going to close this. They're going to make mistakes. There's going to be mistakes on both sides. I'm going to say I'm not going to go that high, but I'll say 65%. I'll go ahead of you. I'll leapfrog over you, 65%, that this is generally the way it goes. Like the Leafs' history has been, they might win game 1, and then they're flat for game 2 for some reason. And, I think Ottawa is going to come in here with a chip on their shoulder, and I think that's a dangerous scene too. Like they're going to be so jacked up, the Senators, like so jacked up. Whether they can traffic that properly and hone it into something positive is a different story, but they're going to be so fired up to play in the playoffs.
Yeah. Think about the one guy leading the charge for him, and Jamie knows better than anybody. He's been waiting 8 years, and he's frothing, man.
You're right, and that is Ray made a great point. I know we're getting a little long on this mini Jerry, but Ray made a great point. Is Brady is a caged animal? How's he going to react? Mm-hmm. The one thing and Hayes, you and I are going to chat about maybe in the 6 o'clock hour, like positive things for Ottawa, positive things for Toronto. And the one thing that people forget is what Steve Stais did in the offseason is he brought in some Cup champs, right? Yep. He brought in Nick Cousins. He brought in David Perron. He brought in Michael Amadio, guys that have won the Cup. So, they're in your bottom 6, right? Those are guys that are going to try and settle the group down or, show the way. Claude Giroux's got a ton of playoff experience. He doesn't have a Cup, but he's got a ton of playoff. So they've got some of these players around. That was the next step for the Ottawa Senators, the young spine of the team and the inexperience there, but it's surrounding them with guys who've played. Nick Jensen's played playoff games, Travis Hamonic. So I think that's where you're going to see, if there's mistakes or whatever, maybe some of these guys that have been there try and settle them down. So I'm still under 50%, but right. I think that's, there's some experience there.
Okay. Joe from the Bridge, I'm going to fly around here, so you're going to have to be on your toes, okay? Because I'm going to continue with this theme. I should have labeled these properly, but I did not. Mini Gerry, an Ottawa Senator leads the series in points.
I'm low on this. I'm 10%.
10%.
Yeah. Screw you, Mark Mathod.
I'm higher on this. I'm not at 10, but I'm not at 70. I'll say 38%.
So you're talking Stützle? Like Stützle would be the driving force, you would think, offensively. But
Stützle, Tkachuk, there's Batherson, who's had a great
Cousins
year.
has been very good since he arrived.
Cousins, there's this Zetterlund guy is a shooter. They've got some guys who, sneakily, Claude Giroux. I don't know. Maybe it's Jake Sanderson. Who's been,
that's it. Shabbat's going to play 27, 28 minutes, you would think, too. He's going to play a lot.
But you're right. But I'm lower on this. What did I say, 38?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bo said 10. He's low. I'm going to be low on this too because you look at the Leaf players, and it's a difficult one to approach.
Whatever's logical
history,
will probably not make sense, but from what we've seen from these guys
and their history in the playoffs, they're not McDavid and Draisaitl. That's not how they've operated. If it was McDavid and Draisaitl, you'd be like, this is 0%. Because those two are going to produce, but
there's a history.
There's a history there where it's not the same with the Leafs, but at the same time, the guys we're talking about with Ottawa, there's literally no history. So I will say 9%. I will go a step below you, 9%, because and for me, I'm looking at Matthews at the forefront. I thought it was an incredible accomplishment for Marner last night. Only the 4th Leaf ever to hit 100 points in the first winger. In franchise history.
Tip of the cap, man.
Yeah, just an incredible scene last night. And, he had friends down. I think he said his brother was down. That was just an awesome scene in Buffalo. It could not have been a better night. Matthews scores. He gets to 400 in his career. And what is he, the 6th fastest to ever do that? But, I think I'm looking at Matthews 1, Marner 2, Nylander 3. Those guys, they've got to step up. And I'm anticipating they will. All right, Mini Gerrys will continue. We got Dregs coming up. We got our best bets coming up. We've got also our picks for the Heritage. Right, we got an elevated event here down at Harbor Town.
Yeah.
So we'll get to those as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Darren Dreger coming up. Our tailor-made picks as well for the RBC Heritage down at where is this tournament being played again? It's at Harbor Town.
Hilton Head Island.
Hilton Head, yes. So we'll get to those coming up and try to sneak in some Jim Palmer audio from last night. Jays with a win today. Vladdy went deep, and Bassett had 10 strikeouts on his own. They had 19 as a team. That is a new team record, man. They faced 27 batters. They struck out 19 of them.
Maybe the Braves stink this year. Never know.
That would be my concern. That would be a big concern for me, is that they're so far behind the 8 ball in a tough division. The Mets are so good. The Phillies are a good team. But remember what the Braves did years ago when they chased down the Mets, right? Yeah. That was a couple of years ago where they got to the second half of the season and they took off. So I wouldn't bet against them quite yet. But
there's always teams that wheel through town and you watch them and you're like, God, they suck. And then all of a sudden they're in a primo position at the end. You're like, that's the same team?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a long year, right? Like, especially in baseball, man. You take on so many different personalities and different approaches, and there's different streaks. And but yeah, the Jays are 11-8 now, and right there with the Yankees. And the other teams are below 500. Boston, Tampa, Baltimore's really struggling out of the gate. So, listen, if you're the Jays, just keep pouncing, man. They've had a tough schedule. We said it before the season started. They've got to come out of April clean. You get through April at 500 or better, you set yourself up for a good run, and they've done that. And Vladdy today, when he hit that home run, man, that was like McElroy with that last putt. Like, he looked so relieved to hit that home run that it was a combination of excitement, and there were a lot of different emotions. But I think more than anything, he was just relieved that he finally hit one.
Dude, I don't even care. Turn it into something. Like, you're the man now. That's what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
And you should be doing it a lot. Don't get too proud of yourself.
No, we need to see that a lot for the next 15 years. Turning on balls and crushing them to left field. Like, that needs to be that's your office now. Like, you got to own the Rogers Center for a long, long time. And it was a big win again this afternoon. They're off tomorrow, but Jays are in a good spot moving forward. 3 games over 500 to start the year. All right, picks coming up, Dregs coming up, more on the Habs and Carolina tonight, more on the Battle of Ontario, more mini Gerry still to come. We are trekking towards the playoffs. It is a thing of beauty. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.